Hi, everybody.
All
Thanks,
right.
Ashley. So welcome, everybody. What we are here to talk about today is conquering cloud costs. And I'm Kim Wier. I'm Director of Engineering of a team that we call Efficiency Engineering at Target. Same thing as FinOps. Funny story, our former SVP, we told him all about FinOps, and he said, no, we're not doing that. And we're like, yeah, we are, but okay, we're not. And this is?
I'm Ron Tatro, the accidental FinOps practitioner and principal engineer at Target. So, go ahead.
So we wanted to give you a little bit of insight into our scope at Target. So we have almost 2,000 Target stores. We have 51 distribution centers throughout the United States. We have over 400,000 team members. We have global offices in India, China, and Hong Kong. And a little known fact is 75% of the United States population lives within 10 miles of a Target store. I think that's pretty impressive. And then this picture is actually a picture of our San Diego store. So hello, San Diego.
Hello. All right, so for today we're going to talk a little bit about how we initially conquered the cloud costs, how we then scaled that through the product model, and then give you something at the end from a key slide takeaway. And speaking of takeaways, we may have planted an Easter egg in our presentation, and if you find the Easter egg and decode the clue, come see us at the conference here. Say hi, we'd love to see you. We might have something for you. So.
A limited number of something.
Limited number of something for you. So we're going to start with our origin of despair, how we initially conquered cloud costs. So in the beginning, there's Larry, the software engineer, Midge, the senior executive, Alice, the FinOps manager, and Stanley, our cloud service provider, TAM. Until the COVID virus arrives, drastically changing guest shopping behavior. And our engineers responded with equally drastic measures. This created the rising cost monster. All right. Okay, we can put this away now.
It takes a lot of guts to do that. I have a hat. I didn't bring it.
All right. So with that, Larry was just doing what he was supposed to be doing. The platform that we built for Larry was really good for his engineering skills, but they were not so good about costs. So they abstracted costs from him. You see, Larry's got a unicorn mask on and has no visibility into the costs that he's generating. Executives in finance take notice. The traditional capital forecasting methods were no longer working, so we needed something different. So we created a team, and that team was us, efficiency engineering. And we started with the data, and the data is complex. At Target, our invoice is around 42 million rows. We needed to know who's using that data, and then if they're actually using what they're requesting. But knowing that information, does that really measure efficiency? To measure efficiency, we need a ratio of inputs to outputs. So it's easy to think about efficiency in fuel efficiency terms where we have miles per gallon. We have a ratio of inputs and business value outputs. Mapping this to how we measure cloud efficiency, we use the inputs of cost and the business value outputs of digital orders. So our measuring stick for efficiency is cost per digital order. And that gives us our measuring stick for knowing if what we're doing is actually being more or less efficient. So with the data and with our measuring stick, we broke the problem down into two big buckets, commercial and compute optimization. But where did we start? We started with commercial optimization. And the goal around commercial optimization is all about lowering your resource unit rates, so cost per core, cost per instance. And this is done through either enterprise negotiations if you have this type of an agreement, or you have to optimize the commercial discount programs available. And likely one of the biggest opportunities is these term-based discounts, which are 1 or 3 years, but they're for specific resources at times in specific regions. And that's risky. So you lower that risk by centralizing that capability and looking at your organizational usage, and then you can create more confident commitments And the benefits of centralizing also lower developer friction. So you can start implementing these programs and start saving as soon as tomorrow. The other optimization strategy is around compute optimization, but this is harder. And the goal here is about how do you use less units. So no matter how good your commercial strategy is, the best unit rate that you can pay for is 0. And that's what compute optimization is about. But you're gonna need Larry in your organization. So you're gonna have to find Larry, and you're gonna have to work with him to see if he can implement the auto-scaling or fine-tune auto-scaling policies. Or if you did a lift and shift strategy to the cloud, you may need some drastic re-architecture. So that's gonna take work and help from key partners within your organization. So once you have the Larry, you need a way to share that message and start building that culture. So we had existing operational channels that we could leverage and start sharing Larry's message and start building that culture across Target. So with the optimization strategies in place, hopefully you will see the lowering of your inputs of cost, the increasing of value that you're delivering with the cloud, which results in a stable unit economic indicator. And if it's stable, you know that you're really leveraging the elastic features of the cloud. And so what you're paying for is what you're actually using. So this all probably sounds very familiar to FinOps practitioners, right? So that's why I call myself the accidental FinOps practitioner. Because we knew that cloud cost optimization is not a one and done deal. And in order to sustain this approach, it needs sustained investment, and a sustained investment at Target is done through the product model. So I'll turn it over to Kim.
There you go. So the whole, our whole title was FinOps as a product, and so that's what we'll get into now. So the COVID virus impacted all of us, but at Target, it really caused us to go out of balance in our cloud cost. And so Target shoppers were shopping, and that's a good thing, but our cloud costs were rising. So we had to do something. The first effort we did, we kind of did this in 2 phases. One, it was really gut it out, kludgy it together, find the data, build out that perspective. But then we knew we needed a long-term solution. So we had another group of people who were building that solution as a product. So at Target, a product is something created with a vision, which aims to deliver value to one or more markets and is developed by a product team through strategy. And so that is the kind of the principles that we applied to the beginning of our product journey. We discovered FinOps, and we really anchored our product model and the FinOps domains as we started this journey. I want to highlight a couple of them that we focused on primarily. So I've heard this in several of the presentations today. The foundation of data is key to actually doing whatever a FinOps practitioner would do. So we had to focus on, as we built out our product, we had to focus on the data ingestion and the normalization of that data. We also married our internal business data to our cloud service provider data so that we could do some of the unit economics picture and that kind of thing. We also really wanted to focus on forecasting. So at the beginning of our journey, we had a really sophisticated way of forecasting our cloud costs. And so we worked and partnered with our data science team to create a model that we could trust in and that we could believe in. We actually were called to the principal's office almost every month because our cloud costs were exceeding what our budget was. So forecasting is super critical, and that was one of the first things that we focused on. And then measuring that unit cost. And the other thing that I'd like to highlight is establishing that culture. So Ron talked about it with the Larrys in your organization, that software engineer. You really have to find the Larrys, find some successes, and then highlight those successes, let the word spread so that other engineers and other engineering teams are becoming conscious of this whole FinOps culture and movement. So in our product journey, one of the very first things we do at Target is define our personas. So we knew that we have two primary personas that we need to approach as we develop our solutions. So we also know that our personas are different and they need different tools. So we have Midge Carpenter. She's a senior leader at Target. She, let's see if I can see what she likes. So her goal is to make our product the preferred product for our customer by delivering outstanding value. And some of her pain points are really a lack of visibility into the data. And then we also have a persona of Larry Goodman. He's a software engineer, and he actually builds the applications. It's really Larry who's spending the money on the cloud. So Midge wants to know how much, but Larry is in control of the keys. He can make the difference as we go through and try and build this FinOps culture. Okay, so solution options. When you come into it, every cloud service provider has native tools that help FinOps practitioners with your practice. They are quality tools. Leverage them, utilize them. That's one option. If you're just getting going, look at what they have. Another option is to go to a vendor and license a product from a vendor. You know, there are different vendors. Some have strengths in forecasting. Others have, you know, very refined strengths. I was talking to somebody today about kind of FinOps for AI. So you could go in that direction too. Find somebody that can deliver on all of your company's needs. At Target, our previous CIO really wanted to build a strong engineering culture. And so we do almost all of our development in-house of most of our products in the technology space. So that is the model that we went with. So we have been building our own FinOps solutions, one for Midge and one for Larry, for the last 2 years. We have been live in production with the Midge. We have a dashboard, and I bet it's been 1.5 years, 2 years. And then our engineer solution, we had an MVP about 1 year ago, and then early this year we went into our first official post-MVP release. So the product journey. Every company has a different journey. Every company has a different product model. This is the one that we followed. It would be different today as we've matured in our product journey. But what we did was we went through different phases of define, really understanding who our personas are, what do they need from us, getting our well-developed OKRs. It's super important for your team to understand what they're trying to build and why. It's really important to anchor to that why. How is this going to impact the company? And then having those KPIs, getting into then the discover phase. So doing value stream mapping and customer interviews so that you can actually hear from the Midges and the Larrys in your company. And then finally getting to that MVP delivery. I've heard this time and time again today is don't wait until you have this whole big solution, big bang. You know, release something small, start small, do it iteratively, and that's what we did. So that's our product journey. Oh, I went too far. Okay, so at the foundation of our solutions, so you know, we have one for Midge and we have one for Larry, but we share the data. So we have both public cloud and private cloud data. We find the data, we source the data, and then we bring that data in, we build different data pipelines, we normalize the data, we can do data analytics, and we put that into our on-prem data lake. And then from there, we build the edge caches that are necessary to build the application or the dashboards, or maybe it's an individual engineer wants to build something for themselves, so we build out APIs so that they can do that kind of thing on their own. So this is our kind of how we ingest the data. And then here, this is hand drawings of our solutions, so I couldn't actually show you pictures. But essentially, this is what we have built for Midge. It's not all inclusive, but you can see here, you know, remember, Midge really wants to know what we spent. So in May of 1953, when Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay ascended Mount Everest, they actually thought that they saw a Yeti. And so I'm anchoring to May of 1953. So in that month, what we show Midge is how much we spent that month, how much we spent in cloud costs that year. And then, so we do the year-to-date cost, we show her last year's, and then we do the monthly cost and how we're trending, positive or negative. And then this is where we start to show Midge the unit economics of cost per gallon, or for Target it would be cost per digital order. And you can see here, in May of 1953 compared to 1952, the unit economic actually improved. That's telling Midge and the FinOps practitioners that we're actually doing more with less. We're getting more efficient in our utilization of those cloud resources. So that's a positive. And then we show her the year-over-year cloud spend, so she can see how we're trending. A little bit deeper into the unit economics, what Ron talked about was the flattening of that unit economics is really showing that you're using your cloud more elastically. And as you can see, her team in 1953 really started to level out in that unit economic. This is another KPI that we have, is we want to achieve a certain cost per digital order, and we try and have our product engineering teams achieve that cost per digital order. So you can use this both in showing how well you're doing, but also in a KPI perspective as well. And then we also show Midge where her team might have some opportunities. So you can see here, the Sasquatch application has idle compute, and that it's costing her $20 a month, and there would be a potential savings of $20 a month if her team were to go and look and see why that compute is idle. This is really valuable to Midge as she's working with her teams to give them direction on where their opportunities might be. And we show Midge how she compares to her peers. How much does her team spend in the cloud service provider compared to her peers? So that's really helpful as well. And what we see when we go through the year, we can see, Target is, we have a peak cycle. So clearly Thanksgiving, Christmas, everybody knows, everybody's buying Christmas presents and things like that. So it's interesting to see certain teams grow and then expand. And we can then, give them recognition that you guys are doing this right. We know you scaled up for peak and you scaled back down. And these kinds of charts help us to demonstrate that. And then Larry. So Larry has a completely different need than Midge. So we actually built a React app for Larry. So I'll just kind of go through these because I think I have slides that are individual. This efficiency indicator to me is probably the most important piece of Larry's tool. So is anybody a software engineer out here? Some, about half the people. So you have a million things to think about and a million places to go for data. I'm gonna guess that your efficiency isn't top of your mind, top of your list for what you're doing. We built this efficiency indicator to be put into other applications, like we have our private cloud deployment interface. We put this efficiency indicator there. We have our ITIL application. We put this efficiency indicator there so that where the engineer is doing their work, they can just see, oh, my efficiency is green. I don't have to think about it. That's the best thing. I don't have to think about it. My efficiency is yellow. I might want to go look at why. And if my efficiency is red, I know I have a problem that I should drill into. And in those other applications, all I have to do is click on it, and it takes you to that deeper level of data. So this efficiency indicator, to me, is one of the most important things for Larry. Then we also show Larry more specifics on his application. So how much the CPU and memory was requested. That's what REQ is, it's not REA. But how much Larry requested, and then how much the application actually used. And then we have this concept of a headroom or a utilization efficiency goal. That's what that little green bubble is. That's where we know Larry can't run at 100% efficient, or his application can't, because he would probably have an incident. So we give the engineering teams a headroom goal that gives them that cushion to operate within an efficiency range. So that's where that comes in. And then we'd show him what his cost is. We also give Larry a much deeper level of insight into his opportunities for the application. So you can see here, Bigfoot V3 prod has idle compute. And so we give him a human readable, information, I guess it is, that says, it appears that your workload is not using any CPU or memory. We recommend that you check your application to see why and delete it if it's no longer needed. So the one thing that we've learned and the one thing that we know is Larry actually knows his application best. And he needs to make sure that he understands why, he can make the right decision, he can test it before he does anything in production. So we really let Larry be the decision maker of that. This is the last thing I'm going to show you, hopefully. This is another chart that is in Larry's application. That yellow band is actually the efficiency opportunity. If Larry can shrink the red line down to the green line, we would know that there was a success there. So that is how we show Larry, here's your efficiency opportunity and how much you could save if you were to make some changes.
All right. So with that,
I got it.
hopefully you found some key takeaways there throughout. But if you didn't, we're going to summarize them here. So you heard a lot about data. So obviously data is complex. Really understand that data. Make sure you have great data. With great data, then you can do really cool things with data science tools and others. And when you're thinking about data, don't just think about cloud data. You have to think about your business data. And we say there, like, even just start with one and start small. And that's really like the next point, which I think you've heard at a couple of talks here today, which is like, even for like your commercial strategies, you don't have to implement the entire commitment. You can stack those. With Larry, you may not be able to talk him into an 80% reduction, but I bet he would be willing to try 20 and ease into it. So that works. And then obviously if you don't, you need to know who's using the data. So tagging is FinOps 101. And speaking of Larry, those trusted relationships and that culture is hard within organizations, but you're going to need help within your organization. So find those key partners. And then ideally, there's existing operational channels or other that you can share your message with. Like we have now a standing kind of message that we can bring and talk to our group in an operational mode. If those don't exist, that could be something that you might need to just actually create. So you're going to need help from within your organization, but then also there is help outside of your organization, and that's, talk to your TAM, because as you have seen now, a lot of the cloud providers are actually building FinOps capabilities and putting some focus around this. So that's also a great place to start. And then obviously join and contribute to the FinOps community itself. So, all right. So with that, I think that wraps up what we had to say, and we have time for some questions.
I want to first do a round of applause. Yeah. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you.
Midge and Larry are very lucky to have you. We'll take about 3 or 4 questions here.
All right.
Come up to the front. Oh, all front questions.
So you're showing Larry, it looked like you separated, hey, here's your idle instance opportunity, here's right-sizing opportunity. How are you helping Larry take actions on those opportunities from the dashboard?
So from the dashboard today, we aren't helping Larry take any action. What we do is we have a group within the team that actually does consulting, and we look for the biggest opportunities, and then we go and actually physically partner and talk about how to do things differently. We do have automation in our future, in our roadmap, but right now our roadmap is getting control of our on-prem data. So we're solid in our a public cloud, but we need to get more into our private, so.
And the culture, the building the culture. Larry likes to share the message, like that's been helpful, and we have like demo days and other things that we can continue to demo and expose the tool to users, so yeah.
I'm curious about your like decision-making processes. Did you have to change anything to allow this to work for you? Like where I work at, I could see presenting the data and people would find it useful, but then it takes 2 months to get a change approved and implemented, things like that. So I'm curious if you had to do anything in your organization to help speed that along so that they could actually start seeing changes in the dashboards and things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about, we did have large support, and I think we had some executive support from the get-go. If you remember, like this problem really started to emerge, after COVID, and so there was a lot of focus around that. And so I would say we had some good buy-in across the board. And then, with that, we did identify like our Larry, the key partner in there that we knew there was a pretty significant opportunity to leverage, and the willing partner to really start taking action and testing that. And so with that partnership, we were able to prove that the data that we were presenting was actually real, and then we were able to implement and see those results. So yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the process to set the goal for the CPU utilization? I imagine there was some internal alignment around, was that going to be 40%, 50%, something else?
Yeah, so we have existing platforms who really know where their platforms run the most optimally from a performance perspective, from an efficiency perspective. And so we really partnered with those teams to understand where that was at and use that as kind of where we set that bar. It's all in the front row.
So was setting the goals or building the solution to measure the unit economics the toughest part of the solution first? And second is, how do you kind of keep it up to date, right? How did you go about the process of defining that? And yeah, so just curious.
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons why we actually brought our data in-house, because we have an existing data lake that we can easily connect to, near real-time business data too. So like on your point about keeping it up to date, it's available for us to use and integrate with the existing platform. So, and I forget, did you have a second part of the question? Or?
Well, so we pull our data in from our cloud service provider on a daily basis. And so we're keeping that data fresh. And then, like Ron said, we do have the business data that's coming in, and so we are able to merge that and marry that and produce that unit economic. And it, impacts the forecast, it impacts the whole dashboard.
So now that's spoiled.
Did we just spoil the Easter egg?
Did I move it?
You must have moved it.
I must have moved it. All right.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
I moved it.
Did
Kim,
anybody
I'm sorry.
find it? Did
did.
everybody? Yeah, there's a couple of people that found it. Okay.
All right, Vic's got a question over here.
Come say hi.
Okay.
So since you're selling it as a product, right, do you have a cost? Like, do you charge your consumers for that product?
So no, it's all internally to Target. It's all internal Target team members who use our product, and so we don't charge them. We also don't do chargeback for our cloud costs. We do show back.
It's a product model. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a product. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a product.
Well, it's a product,
It's
but
a
like
product.
not a sellable product. You can't
Yeah.
go to Target and buy our product. Maybe we should do that.
Well, we did think about open source, but that's a whole nother, we have priorities. We can't do that yet. All right, is that it?
Thank you very much. Let's give
Thank
him another
you.
round of
Yeah,
applause.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching that session. I'm sitting here in San Diego right after FinOps X. We hope you join us next year here live 2024. In the meantime, please subscribe to the channel and join the community. Get involved, join the summits, get in a working group, and don't forget to get FinOps certified. Because next year here in San Diego for FinOps X, it's going to be twice as big. Come join the party. Come meet your people. Welcome home.